Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Roberto. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being with us today. We are going to have a great show for you today, and this is going to be based on also my show from yesterday, a piece of it at least, because you know what? There's a guy that called into the show, and I have to say, it gave me a warm feeling. The guy was from Panama. All of you who watch the show regularly know that I'm from Panama as well. And he was listening, and he made some points, and he brought up some issues he brought up something that we are so used to in back home, and it was like, wow, great. Anyway, welcome Ashley Miller, welcome Chase Escamilla, welcome Senor Radnan. Welcome to the show. We are going to have a great show today, and we are going to continue having great shows because we are going to make a difference, and that is some of the things that we spoke about with my mi amigo de Panama, El Señor Roberto, who called into the show yesterday. And you know, like I said, I was excited to see that we had somebody from my part of the world coming in and checking the show out, et cetera, and reminding me, and not only myself, but reminding many of us how we became activists, because we came from an activist, for all practical purposes, we came from an activist culture. So we're going to discuss that. But here. Democracy at risk. Democracy at risk. Scott Walker, governor of, where again? Wisconsin. He did it. Scott Walker really did it. He went ahead and he decided to sign the bill that takes powers away from the next governor of Wisconsin who beat him. So what did they do for being beat? They changed the rules. They changed it to try to have that attempt to weaken that governor. And you know what? They've been successful. Partially successful. For those who are just joining the show, please remember to share this show, share on your wall, share everywhere, because we want people to notice, and we're going to have a good show. So those of you who are just kind of popped in and then popped out, stay popped in for a while, because we're going to hit you from the beginning. I want you to listen, and I beg you, I ask you, I urge you, I implore you to share these programs. And why am I so adamant about that? We are being singled out. The truth is being singled out. Look at what you're watching on TV right now, my brothers and my sisters. Right now on TV, all you're hearing about is Flynn. You're hearing about Trump. You're hearing about Russia. Let me be frank. Those things are important, but they don't matter to the average American citizen. I know some people are going to get upset at me. Oh my God, are you going to allow the president to do the things that he's doing? The truth of the matter is I don't care. And let me tell you why I don't care, folks. While all of us are, while the mainstream media is concerned about everything Trump is doing or everything Trump has done, they are screwing you. And that is the real story. The real story isn't that Trump was colluding with Russia. He was. The real story isn't that Trump is a treasonous committed treason. He did. The real story isn't that Trump. But you know what? A lot of other presidents have as well. You know, we can talk about what Nixon did in order to win. We can talk about what Reagan did when he stopped Iran from releasing the people under Carter, because he knew that would have made Carter win. I mean, look, what Trump is doing. I want you to get this right. I do not like Trump. I think Trump is a fraud. I think all those bad things about Trump. I think Trump has no soul. But Trump is not much different than many others who came around. He just does it with attitude. I want folks to stop focusing too much on Trump. Focus on the folks behind Trump and what they're doing to us, because that is the real story. And all the shenanigans that's going on right now, while they're doing that, they're polluting. While they're doing that, they're taking away your benefits. While they do that, they're taking your money and transferring it to the wealthy. And that's not shenanigans, or that's not cliche, folks. Those are numerical. Those are things that can be seen. If you're just joining us, my dear brothers and sisters, please share. I implore you to share on your wall, share on your page, share on Twitter, share on Tumblr, share on the Yellow Man. I can never remember the darn Yellow Man's name. But anyhow, we have to make the change. We have to be the ones who make the change. And you know something? The title of the show today is what? The title of the show today is Why Aren't Americans in the Streets Given the Pilfer by Those in Power? Those in power are pilfering us. How comes we're not in the streets? How come we're not doing more? Because you know what you're watching on TV right now? You don't know that they're screwing you because if you watch TV. Even the most liberal station, supposedly MSNBC. Turn it on right now. Well, after my show, that is. And you will see the only thing they're talking about is El Señor Trump. And they're talking about collusion, and they're talking about Russia. That doesn't affect your bread. That doesn't affect how much money you're making. That doesn't affect that what the Trump people has done is destroyed healthcare, and that a lot of the healthcare that you're buying here off the exchange is worthless. How much time are they spending telling you the things that really matters to you? Trump has allowed you to start buying short-term health insurance at a very cheap price. A lot of people are going to look at healthcare.gov, and they're going to look at the cheap insurance, and they're going to say, oh, since there are no penalties anymore, I'm going to buy the cheap insurance. The news media should be out there telling you you are screwing yourself if you do so and get sick. Now, if you do so and never get sick, hey, you're a genius. But who knows who, when, what will get sick? So, folks, disregard the mainstream media as far as what they're talking about Trump and all of that. That will take care of itself. They sit down as if that is going to put more bread on the table for you, as if that's going to increase your wage. It will not. But anyhow, subject today, why aren't Americans in the streets given the pilfer by those in power? And the subtitle is as follows, my brothers and my sisters. A Panamanian American called into politics done right with a perplexing question that we must explore. Many activists ask this about Americans, especially in these times. And you know they do. And you know they do. And here we go. Our economy is doing great by the numbers. Perfecto. Todo está saliendo perfectamente bien. We have a perfect economy. It's rising. It's rising. It's rising. The unemployment rate is very low. I mean, come on. When was the last time we saw this great unemployment rate? I don't remember, and I've been in this country since 1979. This is the best employment numbers I've ever seen. Yo, Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard. Senor Escamilla, welcome aboard. Mark McVeigh, welcome aboard. Folks, if you're just joining us, please, I implore you, share this on your wall, share this on your Twitter, share this on your Tumblr, because you're not going to hear this on mainstream media because they're too preoccupied with Russia, collusion, and all that stuff that's not going to put any money on you. It won't add anything to your value at all. I am telling you, informing you about these issues will allow you to go to where, first of all, for you to know not to buy the crap insurance, but also for you to know that go talk to your congressman and let them know you're listening. You're not following that collusion crap. Yes, there is collusion and all of that, but that is nothing new. Okay, continuing. The unemployment rate is superbly low. Inflation rate is low. How can you have inflation rate low, unemployment rate low, great numbers, productivity superbly high? Wow. When you see something like that, what it really tells you is that there's a whole lot of money being created. There's a lot of wealth being created. I'm telling you, that is what that means. And an economy with those numbers is really great. When Trump goes out there and he says, my economy is great, Trump is absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Okay, so folks, but hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. And share. But wages are low. Insurance rates are sky high. Okay, let's back up. In the world of supply and demand, if there's a lot of demand, that means the prices usually rise. So therefore, if unemployment is really very, very low, that means wages should be going up. But wages are low. Think, folks, I want you guys to think these things through, because you hear things on mainstream media about how these things are, and then we talk about the reality that applies to the other 90% of Americans. So here we go. If unemployment is low, it should mean wages should start skyrocketing. And that's a good thing for the worker. But that's not happening. That is not happening, and you have to ask yourself why. And economists will tell you all kind of fancy stories as to why it's not happening. But I can tell you, and anyone who has a job knows, you are not feeling secure that your job will always be there. And as such, you will do things now you would have never done before. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to share. Please remember to go ahead and make other people get the truth. Let's make sure, folks, share on your wall, your Tumblr, everywhere, because you're not hearing this on the mainstream media. You hear the rosy color things on how good the economy is, and you hear about Russia and collusion, and they get into their own circles. And when these people are sitting in their own circles, it's like they don't know what the real person is going through. And you know what? It's true. Even the liberals, the progressives that you see on TV, they don't live among the people. They don't talk to the person, the downtrodden. They don't talk to those people that are really in trouble. You know what we do? When we went in canvassing, we heard stories from people. We understood on the ground the lives that people were living. When I went out there to East Houston and I saw things, I live in northeast Houston in a pretty nice neighborhood, and I go down to some of these places, and I'm like, you mean people are still living like that? I am from Panama. And in a lot of the places, it was a shocker to see some of these things, folks. Americans are suffering in silence because nobody says it. Nobody wants to come out and say things, right? Politics done right says, no, baby. We're all in the same boat. Let's do it. And let's run our own thing, and let's do it. Let's do it. Folks, please share. Important you share. And tell people what we talk about here. Okay, so wages are low. Makes no sense. You can't have high unemployment and wages low. Makes no sense. Health insurance rates are high, but didn't we just say that inflation was low? Inflation being low means that prices are not going up. But how the hell then can insurance rates go up? And they say, oh, but medical care is going up. Wait a minute. Medical care is still based on the same components that the general economy at large are based on. So how can that be true? Well, and then student debt's rising. So let me see. Great economy, great working, but somehow everything that touches the middle class is going sky high. Think about it, my brothers and sisters. Think about it. Why? Don't just think that this is how things are supposed to be. This is how it is. No, this is not just how it is. 80%, and by the way, our roads. I drove around Houston all the time, okay? We have a mayor that is talking about bringing in billionaires to take over our schools. I think they kind of hit that down yesterday because of the fight from the community. And we have a mayor that doesn't really want to tell the people the truth and say, hey, look, the reason the streets in Houston are as bad as it is that every time some politician come out here, the first thing they tell you is something that you want to hear. I'm going to cut your taxes. I don't want a damn tax cut. What I want is a functioning society. And that means paying for a functioning society. I am willing to pay to have a functioning society. We have to change the definition of taxes and how taxes are applied. They didn't think about that when they gave that big tax break to a whole lot of folks and take your money and gave it to somebody else. Before I go further, I want to remind everybody about a mathematical fact. If you're just joining us, folks, again, I must ask you and urge you and implore you, share widely in every platform that you have. Here's the deal. Our economy, let's say, is growing at 3%. The wealthy is constantly growing their wealth at 7%, at 7%, at 7% or more. Every now and then they have a dip. If they are growing at 7% and the basic economy, folks, is growing solely at 2% or 3% or 4%, whatever those numbers are, they are taking that money from you. It is one economy. And if there's a group that always grows at a higher rate than the masses in general, that means the money is coming from you. I need you to understand that. Because when you understand that, you can feel entitled to go out there and say, no, that is mine. That excess labor that makes you the profits that allows your growth at 7% while mine at 2%, that is mine. We have to be bold in not asking these people for saying, oh, wait a minute, could you please give us a little bit more crumbs? Like we have the fire department fighting, the police department fighting, the county workers here in Texas, in Houston, Harris County. They're fighting for crumbs. The people that are making the money are all the contractors that come into the city, and the mayor give them sweet deals, and they build this part of the airport, and they build that, and at the same time they're doing that, they're stiffing the employees. Folks, my friend said, why aren't we in the streets? I want to play that piece, but before I play that piece, I want to say, our roads, airports, and public infrastructure are in disrepair. 80% of Americans, that's 80% of Americans, folks, suffering in silence, living paycheck to paycheck. Again, hear me out here, my dear brothers and sisters. 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So whenever you go into a room, the vast majority of those folks in the room, if they lose a paycheck, they're poor. Please remember those things. And please also remember that those things are by design. Those things don't have to be. And why do I say they're by design? If I keep you economically insecure, listen to this very well. If I keep you economically insecure, and what does economically insecure means? If I know that if you don't have a paycheck next week, you're broke. If I know that if you don't have a paycheck next week, your kids don't eat. If I know those things, even as good as the economy is, as productive as you are, it doesn't matter, because what it means then is I have you scared, I have you enslaved. Remember yesterday we spoke about benign, this whole week actually, about benign slavery. And for my great brothers and sisters in the top 10% who live the great life and are the guardians of the plutocracy, do remember, they have your number as well. You are kept in such a manner that you can keep the rest in check. That is how the system works. And you keep listening, and we continue to expand on how these things work. But so anyhow, so why, or rather, those realities speak to one thing. There is a class in this country that is reaping the benefit of what everyone else is doing. You watch TV and they talk about the stock market, and they like to say most Americans are in the stock market. They're lying to you. Most of the money in the stock market belongs to the top 1%, and then another group, the top 10%. And the bottom 80% own so little of the stock market, it's irrelevant, immaterial. The only reason they want you to have a dab in there by saying, oh, well, there are a lot of people's retirements who are capitalized in the stock market. Oh, that's true. But hell, a lot of the retirement is nothing compared to the rest of what's there. Folks, I need you to really understand what's going on in the country. Please, if you're just joining us, share this. Okay, before I play it, my friend, I want to remind you guys, folks, that this is a call-in show, and not only a call-in show, it's 646-716-5812, but also it's a progressive show that needs your support. So please remember to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is how we support ourselves. That is how we make sure. And by the way, I need to get a producer to help, because it is very difficult, stressful to get all of this done at the same time, to do the activism, at the same time to fly around the country and do the things we have to do to make sure that we bring things. So I'm going to the program right now, but so please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, or just go to politicsdoneright.com to our Facebook page and go to PayPal. Help this program out. Remember what we need here, a producer, and we need some other equipment to make this even better on the road. But anyway, folks, I'm going back to the show here, and I want to ask you guys again, go to patreon.com/politics done right. It's a call-in show. Remember to call in 646-716-5812. Before I go to the blog of the, well, let me go to the blog of the week, and then we'll continue. So do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, it's not a very long blog post this time around, so here we go. Panamanian American said, call into my show, why aren't Americans in the streets? This week's Politics Done Right on KPFT 90.1 FM was titled, We Are Owned by the 1% because they stole it from us. Reassert ownership. And I noticed that Crooks and Lars picked up on that particular blog post today. So if you go to Crooks and Lars, you'll see that they picked up on that one as well. We received a lot of calls, but one from a Panamanian American really got to me. He reminded me of our approach to government in Panama that I think would put the fear into U.S. politicians. Here is our answer to a Panamanian American who called into Politics Done Right, shocked that Americans are not in a more protesting mood on the streets, given today's realities. He recalls how other protest their governments elsewhere. How other people is what I should put in there. So there seemed to be a little typo. But what I want to do is I want to play that for you, and then we'll come right back to that. So here it goes. Let's go to line number one. Roberto, come on in.
Good day and good afternoon, my friend.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm from Panama myself, and when I hear you mention...
You're from Panama. ¿Qué pasa, hermano? ¿De qué parte de Panamá eres? ¿De qué parte?
What I wanted to say is the people, the citizens of the U.S.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes.
Right? I remember in Panama one time, whenever there was anything going or that the government was doing that was out of place, there was a thing that we called the FEP. I'm not sure if you remember, Federación Estudiantil.
Claro, Federación Estudiantil, claro.
These were students, and it was a Federation of Panamanian Students.
Right.
That if the government was out of place with anything in any kind of way, all the schools took to the streets.
Yes, Abel Bravo, Rufo Garay, todos
Abel
ellos.
Bravo, Arte y Oficio,
Claro.
you name them.
Yes.
We all different uniforms, and all students took to the streets
Yes.
to protest whatever it is that government was doing that was affecting the citizens.
Right.
I'm saying, how come in America, since I've been here for 36 years,
Yes.
I see different state governments, politicians have done so many
Roberto,
things to affect the people, and then we just kind of like roll over and just take it.
My brother, hermano mío, déjame decirte la razón. The reason is very simple, right? I'm writing a new book called How to Make America Utopia, right? And the reason, and one of the chapter that I'm working on right now is called indoctrination. And what happened is we have been indoctrinated in this country to believe we are the best. We not only are we the best, but we are different. We are cultured. You only have those riots in the streets. Of course, they forget about the 6 days in third world countries, right? So they've been told that they just remain passive. And I'm saying they meaning us all, because we're all Americans. Roberto, tú eres americano ahora. So what I'm saying is that is what's been inculcated in the mindset, right? So if I sit down and I'm out there doing my activism with folk, I would say, well, why don't we do this? And I would get some looks. Especially with the folks that are 45 and above. Now, here's the folk they're going to have to watch. They're going to have to watch the millennials, because I talk to a whole lot of them too, right? And these guys are approaching the point where they may not take it anymore. And guess what is a magical thing? Why? They don't have anything to lose. You see, a lot of the folks that are 45 have a home, they have a car, they have this, they have that. But the millennials, we have left them. We have left the millennials nothing. So they don't have anything to lose. They are the biggest generation right now. What happens when they wake up? See what I'm saying? And you know what? They are going to, my friend, you're smiling. Tell me why you're smiling. And speak.
Because you're true about there's nothing to lose at this point. There's not much, really. It's turned out to a point where after generations, it's slowly, parents are easier on their children because they didn't want to be tough on their, like, tough. And slowly, it's becoming where kids are out of control. They don't mind, doing whatever they need to do to get their point across.
That's why I'm glad you're here, brother. So, folks. Yes.
And if they're paying attention to things, what's going on right now, they're trying to take Social Security and make it a what they call it, an entitlement program.
Yes.
For years, I've been working in this country, and that's been taken out of my check. I'm approaching retirement age right now. What's going to be in it for me? Not a thing.
Roberto, no.
See,
Roberto, there's politics done right. There's KPFT. There's all these things. We are making sure that things are going to stay right.
and I have one question
Yes.
for the 1%.
Yes.
They may not be listening directly, but I know they have somebody listening for them.
Right.
How much money is enough
Thank you,
for
brother.
you?
Roberto, muchas gracias. ¿Qué parte de Panamá
Igual,
eres?
mi hermano. Bendición.
¿De qué parte eres?
De la ciudad capital, Pueblo Nuevo.
Pueblo Nuevo. Ok, tómalo con calma, hermano. All right.
Ok, mi hermano.
All right.
Bendición.
Okay, I wanted you guys to hear the conversation, because what he was trying to say is like, why aren't people in the streets right now? And one of the things I try to do is I try to give a rationale, and it all comes from an indoctrination about who we are, who we say we are, who we believe we are, and sometimes that is a detriment. It's a kind of programming, and a kind of programming that adjusts your behavior. A few episodes down, I was explaining to a few people how corporations also indoctrinate. You ask, how can corporations get away with the things that they do? And I pointed out that, if you notice what corporations do with their executives, they send them to schools, they send them to trainings, they send them to all these other things. And most of the time it's under the pretense that, well, it's to improve your career. It's to improve all these issues. It doesn't have a damn thing half the times to improve your career. It is there to improve your programming. It's to reprogram you. It's to change your thought process. It's to rewire your mind. Your mind is rewired, and you create, and then you multiply and create other zombies. And when you create these other zombies, what happens is all of you toe the same line. You speak the same way. You speak the same corporate speech. You forget about humanity. You forget about all the things that you're doing. You take a look at what corps are doing right now. And that's what we're talking about. You forget because you're trained, you're indoctrinated. And by the way, I've given that to the corporation, but it's not only the corporations, it's also the church. The church that has that elected Donald Trump. How does the church work? Well, Donald Trump Donald Trump owes the church. The church is going to get a benefit from Donald Trump, and Donald Trump only has to work with one person, the pastor of that particular mega church. That pastor of that mega church goes ahead and say, this is how we vote, and this is a biblical reason, and since I am the shepherd of God, and since I am the one who protects you, and I'm the intermediary with God to you, you vote the way I tell you to vote, and that is exactly what happens. That is why, in as much as Donald Trump is the antithesis of what a Christian is to these evangelicals, they worship him because their master, the reverend, the pastor, tells them that is what you must do. It's all an indoctrinated process. So when you look at what I'm going to write in How to Make America Utopia, I'll touch on that. I won't only hit on the indoctrination of corporations. I won't only hit on the indoctrination of church. I'll even hit on the indoctrination of government. So we have to understand how the mind controls that's working on us, because I remember once telling some folks one time, right? It's like, they went to a church. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. They went to this new wave church, and they came out happy. And why were they happy? The pastor didn't even pass a collection plate. He didn't ask for anything. And I listened to them, and I listened to the words that they said the pastor was saying, and I understood exactly what that pastor knows, what that pastor realizes, what that pastor is all about. That pastor knew. He didn't want to start by asking folks for money, because asking folks for money, people just think you're a charlatan. People just think you're there for the money. He wants to set the frame. He wants to set your thinking. He wants to have your mind. Because once he has your mind, he has all that he needs. Because if he has your mind, he has your money. If he has your mind, he has your property. If he has your mind, he commands you. And that is what we have in this country right now. We have an economic system that has our mind promoted by a plutocracy that runs our government. And I know a lot of this stuff sometimes sound, how can we get out of it, or that's just the way it is. No, it is not. Once we understand this, and once we understand, we can start deprogramming ourselves. You're not going to deprogram everything that I tell you today, but you're going to be, the next time somebody tells you something, you're going to be sitting back there saying, but does that really make any sense? But do I really need to do this? Oh, that is all we are doing here in these types of shows. We want to plant those seeds so that you can grow them, so that you can be the one. You can look and say, well, like, Berto, I have to figure this out. And do. Check me. Check it. You don't take anything at face value. That's the problem we have in society right now. Everybody taking everything at face value. No, you don't. But continue with the blog of the week. The purpose of the show yesterday was to impress on the listener that we do have power. We must be intentional in making the change. I wrote in the correspondence show blog post that said the following: we know what we want. We want Medicare for all. We want student debt forgiveness. We want pay it forward education for all. Thom Hartman reported that the plutocracy has already formed shadow organizations of misinformation to fool you people into believing Medicare for all is not in the best interest. Do not doubt that will be replicated for every progressive initiative. When progressives turn this juggernaut, this pilfer, will surely come to an end. The thing is that to the plutocracy, greed and pilfering of the masses is like crack to them. And you know, if you're on crack, you know all the folks you know on crack, they'll do anything for the crack, right? So these guys, the plutocracy, they'll kill to make sure they can maintain the greed. They'll do whatever it takes. This morning I was in Starbucks, and my good friend, again, he's off from teaching, so he comes in and grades paper. The doctor Tice came in and we were talking, and he said, Egberto, I got something to show you. And he showed me a document from 1962 that showed how the chief of, not the chief of staff, but the military guys had put together an entire program to overthrow Castro while President Kennedy was saying he wasn't doing it. But within that document, and this is the reason I'm bringing it up, it's kind of on a left field, but the reason I'm bringing that up is within that document, guess what we saw? We saw that they said, we will create bombings, we will do this, we will do that, and we'll make it look like it's a Cuban who did it. And, you know, some people may get hurt, but they will think it's the Cubans who did it. So when you're hearing the news on the mainstream media and then you have somebody tries to ask them questions or ask them to validate it, don't get mad or don't say they are unpatriotic. Say they are in fact patriotic to make sure those who we've given the commands of this country are doing the right thing. Because when they do wrong things, the blowback comes back on you. You've never seen a president die from terrorism. You've never seen a president or these politicians die from anything of what they've done. But we, the average American citizens, when we go overseas without protection, when we do all these things, we have to suffer for what these guys have done. In Panama, when George Bush numero uno came to Panama and blew us up, we had to lose somewhere between 500 and 10,000 innocent civilians had to die because Bush did not want El Señor Manuel Antonio Noriega from spilling the beans, okay? So what I'm saying, we have to be cognizant that it is nothing here is pure, but we do have control, we do have command. So anyhow, folks, as I said now, the thing is that the plutocracy's greed and the pilfering of the masses is like crack to them. If you doubt it, watch CNBC or the Fox Business Channel for 10 minutes. These guys never have enough. They want their legal theft. We must put them under financial arrest. The Panamanian American caller reminded me that back in Panama, we had an organization called Federación Estudiantil de Panamá, or Federación de Estudiantes Panameños, translated Federation of Panamanian Students, that was always ready to engage nationally when the government did something they deemed wrong. Think about if we had an organization like that where we had all the schools in a federation, and whenever we say, hey, this is what's happening, we take a vote. Is this really bad for all of us? All the schools go out there. We're talking about millions that go out on cue. That's what we used to do in Panama. And I remember those days very well. The government used to react quickly because it wasn't something that was centralized to the capital, to DC, to Panama City, the capital of it, or whatever country we're talking about. It was something that was all over the country, and we stopped the plutocracy midstream. Do you think Tagaropoulos or all these rich folk in Panama wanted their commerce to be stopped? Oh no, they reacted rather quickly. And we need to learn that in the United States. You see, these guys know that Americans are passive. These guys know that Americans think, oh, those people who protest are, what they try to make it look like in this country is that protest is incivility, that protest is evil, that protest is all these bad things, right? They try to make it look that way. It's not that. They try to say protest is a law and order thing. And the reason they do that is they want to make sure to keep you passive and control you. But if they ever had the inkling that all the ills that they do to you came at a price, then we wouldn't have great employment with low wages. Then we wouldn't have high inflation, or rather low inflation with high medical inflation. We wouldn't have destroyed roads. At the same time, we're giving away tax breaks to the wealthy. Think about the power. If they knew there were consequences, think about the power you have. Because this isn't, well, you could have, should have done it. This is, you can do it. But we have to be together. And what they try to do, and you notice I always say share programs, share programs, share programs, share programs. One of the things about it, my friends, is MSNBC and all these other stations are neutered. Those of us who can come through you to through social media, email, internet, we are somewhat neutered too. Because don't you think if enough of you don't share this stuff, enough people don't see this to make it a critical mass? And if you don't make what you're doing a critical mass in such a manner that enough people can use internet, word of mouth, emails, and all these things to do it, they've squashed you. Because enough of you don't know that you're all working together. Enough of you don't know that you're working together. But once you use every single avenue, that's the reason I always say, share me, tweet me, all this stuff that we're talking about. And when I say me, I'm not only talking about the program. I'm talking about what we talk about on the program. Make it a part of your lexicon. Make it a part of what you throw out there on social media. Do all of that because everything matters. Absolutely everything matters. And we got to get that in the heart. We got to get that in the head. That it matters. It matters. It makes being a weakling, being submissive, being a benign slave does nothing. And for those of you who are making it right now and you think, oh, it's all okay. Pitchforks. Because when that 80% get pissed off and that other 10% to make 90% join them, nobody's going to be stopping them from coming for you for guarding the gates. And I know a lot of you think of this as, oh, this is high and mighty. Let me tell you how these things start. When they start, they're like a nuclear reaction. And that's what I was talking about, millennials and Gen Zs. When these things start, they're like they are really like an uncontrolled nuclear reaction, a fission reaction gone awry. A lot of what we are doing, some of us in the activist community that want things done right, we don't want to see that on that type of a reaction. But we are getting there. We are getting there. And the reason we're getting there is the continued, and a lot of people don't like to use this word, but the continued rape. And I say that explicitly, of the vast majority of the American population. And that is what's occurring right now. The continued pilfer, the continued theft, that is what's continuing right now. Anyway, folks, so the Panamanian Color Federación Estudiantil, the Federation of American Students, that was always ready to engage nationally when the government did something they deemed wrong. Given that hurt that the current government and economic masters are imposing on Americans, why aren't Americans acting out more? I explained to the caller that Americans had been indoctrinated into behaviors that lend itself to corporate and governmental abuse. Moreover, many people believe they have more to lose reacting than acquiescing to the plutocracy. I pointed out that I am writing a book titled How to Make America Utopia that explains that observation. There is a danger. There is a danger, however. We have left very little for millennials and Gen Zs as such the generation is likely to react differently because they have nothing to lose. I had a Generation Z guest that lit up when I said that. It was clear while talking to him that this is something the plutocracy will have to take seriously. Their pilfer will not continue unchecked. Many of these emerging groups not only want the loot back, but a pound of flesh. What do I mean by that? They want the loot back, yeah. They want what's theirs. But they want to penalize those who took it and who forced them to have to take it back. Those are the things we're trying to mitigate, folks, because that can get ugly. The pilfer will not continue unchecked. Many of these emerging groups not only want the loot back, but a pound of flesh. The powers better hope the civil transition activists like me are seeking is successful because there are two groups that are simmering: millennials, Gen Zs, and as well armed lower middle class folk. And to be specific, armed lower middle class white folk are starting to see that we are really all in the same boat. We are really all in the same boat. We're all together. We're brothers and sisters. They need us to be fighting against each other. They need that. But as we unite, the barrios, the ghettos, and Appalachia, we're going to wake it up. So, and if and when they blow their lid, it will change this country. Folks, a lot of people don't, they go about their lives. Everything looks normal. If you watch TV, you watch most TV stations, you don't know the dire straits most Americans are in. You watch the Christmas shopping, you don't know the dire straits most Americans are in. Because, there's a class of folks that can go and shop and buy a whole lot of stuff. And then there are those who suffer in silence, the vast majority of folks. Suffering in silence. The debt, if you doubt it, see what the debt rate looks like now. And I'm not talking student debt, I'm talking school debt, college debt. Look at what's happening. Okay, I think about, I see a lot of people writing, so I think I better go to start answering those questions. But I want you to take what I'm saying, and please, again, remember to go ahead and share these things. It is so very much important that we do that. Because, folks, this is real. This is absolutamente real. This is real. And for those who doubt it, I feel for you, but it's happening. It's going to happen. And let's see what my people are saying. Let's see what's the best way to do this. Okay, whoa, quite a bit. All right, let's start with loading the comments. And let me see, where do I start? Okay, let's start from the top. Here we go. Ashley Miller, can't stay long, friend, but just stopping in to say hello and can't wait to catch up. Hey, Ashley, great. And we need you on the show talking about marijuana, talking about her. But hey, interesting news, Ashley Miller, if you catch this on the call on the podcast, hemp is now legal in the United States. There was a trial program in Kentucky, and now now we can grow hemp legally for doing all the great things you can do with hemp. Yes, I know it's not marijuana, but a lot of that'll come next. Okay, Chase K. Escamilla, bring the heat today, Egberto. That's what I try to do, my brother. Asha, can't wait to tell you my experience. And I want to hear about HD 131, my friend. Okay, let's see. Michael Rudnin, when governments fear the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, you know something? Where did you get that? I love that. That is so true. Have a great show. Thank you very much for being here, Ashley. Okay, Michael Radnin. The people care about financial concerns and keeping out of poverty more than they do whether Trump gets impeached. You're absolutely right, Michael. So we have to help each other remember that. They're not preaching that on TV. Mark McVeigh, the orange man baby is nothing but a distraction. Brother, you have it on the nail. You hit the nail on the head. El Señor Chase K. Escamilla. Daniel here. The average person is listening to all these stories, but in the end, most of us are just trying to get through our days. We will continue to try to get people in office that will have our backs while we work to pay taxes to pay those that are screwing us over. Oh man, you hit the sentiment so well, Daniel. You hit the sentiment so well, Daniel, using El Señor Escamilla's account. Bruce Pollard, my brother from another mother. Yo, is what he said. Hi, Bruce. How you doing, brother? Michael Randenegberto, collusion is nothing new. Dark money, bribery. You're so right, sir. Mike Cisak, documented that Hillary campaign and DNC paid Michael Steele and Russian for the Russian dossier. So, yes, there was collusion by the... Brother Cisak, you're still going back and forth. I really don't care about that, nor does Americans. Right now, Americans care about who's in power and what's happening with those that are in power. Hillary didn't get into power. She didn't get into the White House. Forget about Hillary. Let's talk about what's in front of us, my friend. Chase Escamilla, the average Trump supporter doesn't understand basic technology and how the election was systematically taken over. Look, Chase, you're absolutely right, but I'm not going to just throw that on Republicans don't know it. Democrats don't know it either. Not all Democrats are smart like you are, or progressives are smart like you are, or that. The difference is most Democrats, and I hate to put it this way, have chosen the right values, have chosen the moral values. What we have now is a conservative movement that has forgotten about any kind of morality and decide that they will simply find a way to get out of all the immorality of their leader, their master. All right, Chase Escamilla. 3 leaders in the world knew our weakness and used it against us. They used I don't know what that is, but, I know, I don't want to, okay. Chase Escamilla camera and said it was the easiest group of humans to radicalize on earth. Putin was right. Putin was right. That's what Escamilla said. Mike Cisak, almost all of the consumer price inflation we're experiencing in recent years, 88% of it has come from our heavily regulated, partly government-run sector, healthcare services, housing, education, and prescription drugs. Oh, boy. I'm not going to answer that one because it's too technical and I don't have enough time to do it. But let me just I want to remind CSAC that while we say there's a public sector, the public sector buys its products from the private sector. That's why I always talk about when they talk about government takeover, it's a crock of crap. And the reason why is even when the government does things, it actually purchases from the private sector. The reason the private sector doesn't necessarily want that is they don't want the government to say, since I'm buying so much, I'm going to force you not to have the prices high. So in effect, even though that happens, the government never negotiate on price, and private companies will get a better price because the government is willing to pay a higher price and subsidize those lower prices for the other companies. So I am not going to go there because the fact of the matter is I'm right and Mr. Cisak is simply wrong. And I think history proves that. And it's not, when I say I am right, I'm not talking about Berto Willis is right. I'm talking the progressive description of all that he's talking about is right. Okay, Chase Escamilla, corporations aren't people, you're so right. And they hold the money, 99%, 100% of their value. Okay, let's see. Mike Cisak. I know PJ O'Rourke very well. PJ O'Rourke's famous, I know PJ O'Rourke. PJ O'Rourke's famous prediction about healthcare. If you think it's expensive now, wait until it's free. It's turning out to be prescient, and the hilarious misnamed Affordable Care Act is expected to drive many medical expenses higher, including the sums of. Okay. Notice while highly regulated industries such as healthcare and those with the large government footprint such as education have seen price rocket, the price of computer has declined by an average of 18% a year. You're looking at 2 different dynamics, but that is what they do. They conflate. The reason computer prices are low is exactly the reason why every Keynesian economic person would tell you there is so much supply that the only way to get rid of it is for prices to fall. When it comes to healthcare, you can't shop around when you get sick. But I don't expect the right to ever accept that because it goes against their ideology. But folks, whether you're Republican, Democrat doesn't mean you don't think. All I'm saying, whether you're Republican or Democrat, please just think. Don't just allow these people to push ideology into your head that in effect hurts you. What I want to do, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, anarchist, or whatever. I really don't. Anybody who watches this show in the long run realizes, and that's why Mike Cisak is here. That is why John Ledo is here, because they have a voice here as well. And sometimes every now and then Mike Cizek would say something that I agree with. But in general, he's wrong. Chase Escamilla, man, I don't know much about the mayor, but the dude sounds like he got taken over by the suits. Yes, he did. Robert L. Mark, my KPFT brother, like the fraud perpetrated by Florida's newly elected junior senator, you agree he should be in jail, of course. Case Escamilla, technology isn't the same comparison of someone's health. Oh, so you answered it before I even got a chance to it, Chase. Thank you. Break-in. Andrew Gillum has been issued a warning from a state judge not to leave the state of Florida. His current presence is unknown. Oh, wow. How scary. They're that is so funny. Financial bounty hunters testify Clinton Foundation operated a foreign agent to foreign countries. You see, now they're trying to throw everything on Clinton now that Trump is in real trouble. Trump is in real trouble, but I don't really care about Trump. I care about you. Mike Cizek from Tallahassee, Commissioner Scott Maddox was indicted Wednesday on 44 charges in FBI corruption, investigating what that became a key issue in the Democratic. Andrew, why do you think you need to tell us that? The guy is not you can try to put that out there, but Gillum is not going to be convicted. Gillum is not going to get arrested. I mean, you can try. Okay, overthrow Castro. Do you have a link to the document? Yes, I have a link to the document, and what I'll do, send me a direct message, and I'll go ahead and send it out for you. I'm going to blog some stuff about that as well. Okay, CSAC, the First Amendment. The First Amendment forbids any laws being applied to religious institutions, which includes tax laws. This is why the IRS has never tried to impose such penalties to a court case. They would lose and open a flood of churches taken they need to be taxed. Attaining critical mass with a worthwhile political message, getting that message to go viral, is one of the most difficult things to do. Personally, I think this is by design. Absolutely so, my brother. But you know what? Designs are meant to be redesigned. Again, designs are meant to be redesigned. Let me go one more full thing to see if there are more. Mike Cizek now said, notice while, no, that's old. Let's go for the new ones. Today was nice and active. I love you guys constantly coming in here and letting us know stuff. Okay, let's see. Michael Rendon, FBI is messing up again. The comment section doesn't refresh. Yeah, you're right. Facebook is messing up. Bruce Pollard, I think pilfer means to steal or take what is not yours. Yes, it does. And that's what they do. But again, they do it in a legal manner. Yes. Socialism is a way to pilfer from one group to give to another that is not theirs. No, wrong. Again, you see, you assume that capital, when somebody take over capital, I mean, when somebody went ahead and the law told them it was okay to take all the land west of the Mississippi, not because the law told them that, mean it really belongs to them. Okay? Yes, it is legal by the law of the institution that claims to be governing that. But, sir, or people, there's a bigger law. I mean, yes, we have to live within the laws of our country. That is, I'm not asking anybody not to do that. But what we also have to do is examine the morality of the laws and change them when they become immoral. And that is where I am at. That is where I think that's where most people are. You know, like I constantly preach, most people are good people. The vast majority of people are good people. Okay, I don't see any more comments coming down here, so I have to do one more pitch to ask you guys to support Politics Done Right. So here we go. And, I wish more. There are so many on the line. I have thousands that listen, but I wish more of you would call 646-716-5812. Anyhow, going on to this, what I'd like to tell you guys is the following. Please go ahead and remember that this is this show needs your support. So I ask you, implore you, I beg of you to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, one word. patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and subscribe to the show. It is very, very, very inexpensive to do so. And if you don't want to subscribe, you can also simply contribute to the show. And to do that, you just go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com and click on. There's a link all over the place that says support, or I think donate or something like that. So please consider doing that. Also, remember, those of you who become subscribers, you are automatically going to be writing the book with me, or reading the book as I write it. How to make America utopia. How to make America utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. How to make America utopia. So right now I'm working on chapter 2. Chapter 2 covers some of the stuff we're talking here, indoctrination. So once that comes out, all those of you who are subscribers will you can actually log into the book and read where we are so far. And you can also inside of our book part of this thing, in other words, inside of our what is it called? Inside of there's a group called How to Make America Utopia. In that group, you can give me suggestions and you can give me all kind of things. You can talk about it in there if you want to, and I imagine it'll get more active as I put more chapters out. Go to that group, subscribe to that group once you are a subscriber to Politics Done Right, and you'll be able to see these things as they go. And not only that, like I said, if I use anything that you put in that group into the book, with your permission, I will cite you. Again, I will only use what you give me permission to do so, and also cite you. Now, folks, I am not asking you to do what I don't do myself. I ask you to subscribe to Politics Done Right because I have promised you that I am going to be bringing you a different or expanded point of the progressive view that you cannot see on TV. Why is that? Because again, these guys have their ownership, the media and all the advertisers, etc. I promise you not to do that. And likewise, you know that I go around the country and I interview all kind of interesting people. How? I even interviewed Ocasio-Cortez. I interviewed, and that is on our Patreon page as well. I interviewed Ocasio-Cortez and several of the other protagonists that are now in Congress. Now, folks, please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. I'm going to set up something else with, I've been in touch with Ocasio-Cortez campaign. She was not doing anything until January, and I'm supposed to be setting something up then. So, folks, again, please support patreon.com, support Politics Done Right and independent progressive media at patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Let me tell you, I support dailycoast.com. That is the biggest liberal site in the country. I am a subscriber to them, to dailycoast.com. I'm a subscriber to opednews.com, the fourth or fifth largest progressive website as well as I am democraticunderground.com. I subscribe to those 3 sites. I also subscribe to coffeepartyusa.com. Check all these things out, coffeepartyusa.com. I subscribe, of course, to my local Democratic Party, Harris County Democratic Party, because I live in Harris County, and I believe, and whether you agree or disagree with some of the things folks are doing, we must support with little donations. We must support these organizations, because if the progressive movement is going to make it and go forward, we have to put our money where our mouth is. We all support the plutocracy right now as we subscribe to cable. You know, we don't have any problem giving $100, $200, $300 a month to the cable. I'm asking you for another source and to help move the progressive message forward. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and subscribe, or you can donate at politicsdoneright.com. That is our promise to you, that we will continue doing what we need to do to not only educate, not only highlight, not only enlighten, but to go out there and hit the pavement. And you see in little quick videos that I do, we don't just talk the talk. I don't just sit down here in front of a computer. You know, I'm not just a keyboard warrior that sits in front of a computer and all. Yeah, I sit in front of the computer a lot because I write a lot, but I'm out there on the road, on the streets, talking to people. Not only talking to people, changing what we have to get done, encouraging people to be a part of the body politic, making sure that we get things done. So support us. And like I was telling you guys, I need a producer. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Thank you so kindly for having spent this time with me. I hope after the show, and you know, I process the show and we'll have it ready in podcast and vlogcast form shortly. Please share the show. Please share the program. Please tell people about Politics Done Right. Please tell them to tune in, whether they do it in the podcast, the vlogcast, or otherwise. Please, that's the only way we're going to make a difference, by getting our mindset changed, by freeing our mind. And when we free our mind, You're open to listen to everything, analyze it, and determine what is truth. And I ask you to analyze everything that I tell you. If I tell you something that you doubt, you go ahead and you find out. If for some reason I tell you something that isn't quite accurate, I want you to tell me too. Because, man, we're in this stuff together. My name is Roberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Roberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Roberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.